Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. We have the showcase for the EZA LR Golden Frieza and Android 17 unit. Finally got that last link to level 10. Legendary power was being pesky, it was being jarring. As you can see though, while they are level 10 links, we only have them at 55%. They are at free dupe. A unit I think I only pulled a few months ago for the first time, and I've never been able to pull since. I say since, in all the years since they came out. When did they come out? 2021, and I've pulled them once in 3 years. So we're gonna see what they do pretty much at the bare minimum. They are starting with 245k attack stat, 133k defense. I can actually get their support on super, which, do you know what I'm not going to do, just because typically you're not going to put this unit in slot 1. However, we can actually get their support from their passive. We can only get one rainbow keys for us, so it's not going to be a lot. And that takes them up to 789k attack stat, 153k defense. And then on super attack, they do greatly raise attack and defense by 50%, 5.5 million. Not the best, but again, they are only at 55% in the dupe system. They do cause Megacloss damage to the enemy and greatly lowers attack and defense. Additional, yep, there's additional 4.88 on the 12 key. And on 12 key, they'll massive raise attack by 100% for one turn, cause Coloss damage to the enemy. I was gonna say, can we get a triple? No triple though. And they do start the time with attack and defense plus 177%. They get key plus 7 and damage reduced by 50% for one turn from the character's entry turn. So again, just like Jiren, just like, I can't remember, there was another unit off the top of my head that also has like one turn. Oh, it's my boy Jeets, EZA SB Jeets. For that first appearance, they do have that 50% damage reduction on their first appearance for one turn, which again is always very nice to have on a unit that needs to either build up, kind of protect your HP, while other units need to build up with how much damage events are doing nowadays. So I'm a big fan of that. They'll launch 2 additional attacks, each of which have a 50% chance of becoming a super attack, which, I can't lie, for just doing overall damage, having those additionals is nice. However, I probably would have liked them to have defense on their 12 key, just to kind of pack them out a bit more, just to kind of bolster them up, but it is what it is. They also launched an additional super attack that has a 70% chance of performing a critical hit when HP is 77% or less. So another one where you probably want to maintain your HP around that mark, which probably wouldn't be too difficult to do with the type of damage enemies are doing nowadays. Especially because that additional is guaranteed at that point. So that means if you can, or if your HP is around 77% or less, you will do a guaranteed additional, you'll do your base super attack, you'll do the 2 additionals, and you could potentially super attack 4 times in one turn. 5 if the dupe system pops up. So, you know, if you have any dupes in them or in them, then, you know, obviously that's going to happen a bit more frequently. As I said, you could do 5 super attacks in one turn, or of course them coming from skill orbs as well. So the amount of times they can super attack in one turn does kind of make up for their low-ish attacks. That again, mine is at 55%, so those additionals would be a lot more crucial and a lot more beneficial for me. Obviously, if you do have dupes in them when you have them rainbowed, you're definitely not going to complain about doing 4 extra additional super attacks, especially with the type of numbers they'll be putting out with the extra stats. They then get key plus 1 up to 7 and an additional attack and defense plus 11% up to 77% of each attack performed, and that's where all those extra additionals will come in handy as well. And don't forget, they're not super attacks, just each attack performed. So even if those 2 additionals don't pop and they don't do additional supers, it's just attacks. So we've already done, what, 3 attacks, so that means all we have to do is do 4 more attacks, which again, with the amount of additionals they have just built into their passive even before dupes, building up that key plus 7 and 77% attack and defense, doing 7 attacks will probably take you no time at all. Unless you get I say if you get very unfortunate, the additionals are guaranteed no matter what. So the latest you'll have that built up, even without the guaranteed additional in their passive, even without an additional from the dupe system, is at least 3 attacks in one turn. So you're looking at what, 3 turns it's going to take them to build up. So pretty much what, turn 5, which to be fair is kind of like a good average point when it comes to, say, active skills, you know, nowadays with Supreme Magnificent Battle and you know, Red Zone, Kid Buu being a little bit on the longer side. So that's completely fine. You know, having them fully built up by turn 5 is good. They'll then gain an additional ki +1 up to 5 and attack and defense +20% up to 100% with each super attack performed. Now, of course, this one is directly attached to super attacks, so you do want those 2 additionals becoming super attacks more often than not. And again, having your HP at 77% or less when you get that guaranteed additional is going to help you do that a lot more often. But still, it's only 5 attacks. It's only 5 attacks, but again, there is some RNG attached to it. So if you do get quite fortunate with it, and if you do get quite lucky, you can actually build that up by like their second appearance. But they're up to a 1.2 million attacks. That, I mean, they have grabbed orbs. They do have 258k defense as well, but again, we're almost finished building up their passive. You need to keep track of how many super attacks they've done. They've only done 1, so no, they've done 2 so far. Tell a lie, they only need to do 3 more. They also have a chance of performing a crit plus 17% and damage reduction by 17% within the same turn of each attack performed. So very similar to Carnival LR Sword of Hope Trunks, where you want them additional supering as much as possible, which they do have the possibility of doing. They're up to 9.1. All right, the damage is definitely there. Okay. Their build up definitely is a massive factor in this. I mean, they do get a ton of extra stats from building up. So that's 1 extra super attack, 2 extra super attacks, 7.7 million on that. In terms of building up with each attack, we're up to, what, 5 now? And we've done 3 super attacks. 4 super attacks, 10 mil. I mean, that's that 100% on the 12 key super as well. So we've pretty much almost fully built them up. We've almost fully built them up. But as I said, very similar to Carnival or Sword of Hope Trunks, you want these guys super attacking as much as possible, which they do have the possibility of doing. But then if that 50% chance doesn't pop, if the RNG isn't there for you, maybe on the potential system, if one of those don't pop either and you're relying on that, you can miss out on a ton of damage reduction, which can leave them a little bit weak. It can leave them a little bit open, especially with no items. But again, there is potential there, and this is where the RNG comes in, and this is where they can be very good, but at the same time, because it's so heavily reliant on RNG, it can go a little bit wrong. So if you get very lucky, and you also have the HB condition additional guaranteed, that guarantees you an extra 17% damage reduction at all times. But that's if your HP is in and around and maintained at that 77% threshold, which obviously takes you to, what, 34% damage reduction, which after raising their defense and then being fully brought up is solid. In terms of super attacks, though, they'll probably get clocked by like all of the toughest enemies in the game. So maybe Kid Buu, because they do have type advantage, but maybe they'll survive that one. Beast, and then eventually Goku and Frieza, which of course will be coming soon within the next week or so. If you get lucky with the 2 additionals off of one of them, that takes them to what? 51% damage reduction, which is very, very nice. Again, especially when they're getting 50% attack and defense on 18 key. If you get lucky enough and both those additionals pop, you're looking at a total of 68% damage reduction, which is very, very good. But of course, it's just heavily reliant on RNG, whether they get it or not. So as I said, they have a lot of potential to have a ton of damage reduction and be very good. And as I'm seeing from the build up, and they're not even finished yet, they need a couple more attacks and super attack to be done. They're putting out some very good numbers, even at 55%. And they can have a ton of damage reduction where they're in a very safe spot. But that's if those additionals do become super attacks. And then, if you have dupes, skill orbs, if you manage to get the potential system additional, you're looking at an extra 17% damage reduction on top of that, which takes them up to, what, like 70-80% damage reduction, which is perfect. But then you're kind of relying on everything all lining up, which is probably highly unlikely. But if you do get very lucky and all those additional supers pop, they almost have 100% damage reduction, which is perfect, almost. So the potential is there. But we do have the active skill ready, which can be activated after performing 4 more super attacks, which, with their passive, again, is dependent on RNG, but with the amount of additionals in their passive, can happen very quickly if you do get lucky. They will get ki +7 and attack and defense +77% for 1 turn and guaranteed crit. So we are going to pop that, and we're going to let them pop off and do their thing.
I honestly didn't expect you to put that much effort into slowing him down.
If I failed, I knew you'd be here to do the rest.
I've earned the trust of a robot. How'd I get so lucky?
Right, so where's their defense sitting? 672k. I mean, an active skill turn along with having their additionals pop and getting the extra defense and damage reduction, they actually have a solid amount of defense after being fully built up and using their active skill and having their damage reduction. Like, it's a very good, very strong turn for them. Again, especially if you can get lucky and those additional supers do pop more often than not, and you're getting all that damage reduction stack. You also, of course, get crit chance as well, which unfortunately is mainly going to take place on the 12 key, but again, you're getting 100% attack raise on every 12 key additional they do. So the overall amount of damage they can do with the amount of crit chance that ends up stacking up as well is also very nice. It is very nice. These 13.5 mil. All right. I underestimated the damage that was coming out. Again, this is at 55%. This is at 55%. I think super attack wise, they're probably fully built up now. I think we were up to 4. I mean, we've got an additional there as well, 9.5. Again, if you can get lucky with the additional supers, again, that's 100% attack every single time with 17% crit chance, constantly building up on top of that. Which is, if you can get lucky for all those additional supers to pop, the amount of damage they can do overall is not only just very good in general, but then attaching that much crit chance every time, it means they can do some very good damage. And then on top of the damage reduction stacking every time, it means they can defend very well as well. Again, when it comes to like the hardest enemies in the game, like Goku and Frieza is a strength enemy, so maybe not them. Beast, maybe not either. With an item active, 100% I reckon they could survive a Beast super attack fully brought up, and if they get a decent amount of damage reduction, especially combined with a Whis. Without an item, no, I think they'll get you killed. Goku and Frieza, they'll get you killed. With an item against Beast, I think they'll be good. Boo with the type advantage, and again, some damage reduction build up, they're good. As I said before, these Universe 7 EZAs are eating good. They are eating good. You have the Universe 7 unit offering so much to an already stacked team in reps in Universe Survival Saga. More so reps, with, again, damage reduction, the support in their passive, support in their super attack. Put out some very good numbers as well. They only have one dupe in for me. Then you have Golden Frieza in 17, who can get a ton of damage reduction. Yes, it's attached to RNG, but they can get a ton of damage reduction. They can super attack loads of times just straight from their passive, even before you factor in the extra one from the dupes. And then once they're fully brought up, they're putting out very good numbers. 100% extra attack every time they additional super, while building up crit chance, which means the amount of damage they're actually doing to enemies is kind of stupid, while again building up all that damage reduction. Reps is eating good. Reps is eating good with these EZAs. So's Universe Survival Saga. Reps is eating good. I'll say it again. Reps has only had, what, 2 new releases within the last 1.5 to 2 years. Most of this team has been buffed by how good the EZAs are, and they just keep hitting it. They keep eating good. They are very good. I kind of wish I had dupes in them so I could, you know, hit additional supers a little bit more frequently, especially if I miss out on one in their passive, or just to make that potential system 1 pop a lot more often. Unfortunately, they're at 55%, and even at 55%, they are very, very good. Can't wait to try them out against some of the more difficult enemies in the game. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care of the rest of your day, and peace.